Hi guys, how are you today? Hope you are well. I have 3 stories for you today. First one is about betrayal. Guys, could you forgive cheating or ever forgave one? OP in first story is in a very difficult situation. I would not wish to anybody. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I met my wife 10 years ago. We both were in college, dated for 3 years, and married for 7. She is a beautiful and amazing person, and everyone in my family loves her. 4 months ago, I found out my wife was having an affair with a mutual friend of ours. It was a 1.5-month affair. She was acting very shady at the time. She would ignore my messages, turn me down every time I tried to initiate S. I thought something was wrong. I did snooping, but found nothing. Eventually, I hired a PI. Within 1 week, I got proofs. She was having an affair with our mutual friend. I immediately confronted her. She confessed having the affair. Immediately, she started crying, begging. Basically, all classic cheater moves when they are caught. I asked her for all details, with detailed timeline. At night, gave me everything. Basically, she was using another phone for having an affair. She told me she had S with him only 4 times, and rest of time, they were just hanging out and having fun. 3 days later, more crying and talking crap about herself. She told me that she had deleted all contacts with him and do whatever it takes to make our marriage work. She suggested MC. I denied, told her to leave me alone. I was hurt, betrayed, humiliated. She moved out to her parents. She started texting me every hour, how much she loves me and how she regrets this, and will do anything to save our marriage. After completely ignoring her for 2 days, I texted her that we are getting divorced. She freaked out and started having emotions breakdown. My phone started blowing up with her parents, sister, friends, telling me not to end marriage and at least give her a chance. Later that day, she made a long post on Facebook explaining how she ducked up and how she destroyed her marriage, basically admitting her affair publicly. But I was rock solid on my decision. She even insisted to have a lie detector test to clear my doubts, that she never cheated in the past, blah blah blah. I asked her for some time alone to process all this. We have been living separate since. This was all 4 months ago. Last week, I asked her for divorce and she started crying, begging for another chance. After that, she visited my parents and asked them to convince me not to divorce. Last night, my parents and her parents tried to convince me to work things out. After she made her Facebook post, almost all of our mutual friends were telling me how she was brave to admit her affair, and that she loves me, and I should at least give her a chance. I'm on an edge of having a breakdown. She is truly remorseful and regrets this. I can assure you this. I do love her, and her cheating on me hurts the most. I don't know what to do. Anyone who has reconciled, how are things going on? Small update. We don't have kids. We were planning to have kids after this pandemic's over. We both own a business, and we work together. I haven't talked to her in almost 3 months, only business-related stuff. Here's the update. I decided to talk to my parents. I called them and told them that I was going for divorce. After an hour later, she called me crying, not to end it, and told me to at least meet her in person. Since the D-Day, I haven't seen her or talked about affair. Every time I talked, I ignored the talk about affair. She told me she'll explain everything, at least hear her side of the story, and after hearing it, whatever decision I'll take, she'll respect that. Since I don't know what was going on and don't have much information about the affair, it will be like closure to me. So I've decided to meet her on Sunday. That's it, nothing dramatic. What would you do, guys, if you were in an OP situation? Would you forgive a cheating partner? Or you think once a cheater is always a cheater? In my opinion, the divorce in this situation will be so much easier because they don't have kids. I think the hardest part is when kids are involved. What comes to family and friends pressuring OP to forgive his wife? They won't be the ones who get cheated on the next time. If they like her so much, they can have her. Even if she never cheats again, what matters is how OP feels about her and their relationship. She can make promises, but she can't reverse time. It is okay for OP to say no. It is okay for OP to want a divorce. If OP doesn't want to be married to her anymore, he doesn't need a long list of reasons, and certainly doesn't need the approval of others. Let's go to the update, guys. Update. As decided, we both met on Sunday. She was quite miserable. I haven't seen her in a while. We talked about our relationship. I asked her to take down her Facebook post, which she did. I asked her about the affair, why she cheated on me. She told me that she was dumb and selfish at that time. She didn't blame me for affair. She told me that they were casually talking, and he started talking about his affairs. She showed me text messages of them both, where he was bragging about his fun life outside of marriage. She told me she was curious, and one thing led to another. There were several texts where he was guiding my wife how to hide affair. He suggested her to buy another phone and always keep it in car. I took screenshots of everything. She then asked her for forgiveness. I forgave her, but I couldn't get past this. Divorce was my default option from beginning. She begged to try marriage counseling. She told me she will never date anyone else ever again. If she does, it would be me. I don't really care. We will still work together, as this was our both dream project. As for our mutual friend, last I heard was his wife and he decided to reconcile, as kids were involved. I really feel sad for his wife. She didn't know what kind of monster he was. We are getting divorced. I've decided not to be in a relationship ever again. Update 2. Everything in my life is falling apart now. 3 days later, I told her my decision. She drank fennel. Fortunately, she was saved and still in recovery. I'm visiting her every day, checking up on her. I really feel bad and very, very guilty. We've decided to reconcile and work on marriage. After a month, she would be fully recovered. And I've decided to move out of country to start a new life there. In this 2 weeks, I've been called heartless bastard by everyone in our friend circle. The only few people who stood by me in this were my 2 best friends. I'm so grateful to have them. My parents were very angry because I drove her to that. I also found out both of my parents were cheaters. First, it was my dad who cheated on my mom. After that, my mom seeked for a revenge affair. That explains a lot why they were supporting my wife. I love my wife, and I can't watch her doing this to herself. I thought this divorce would be a new chapter of our lives, and we can move on. But things didn't work out as I've thought. She still wants our marriage and wants to be with me. It's not OP who drove her to that. She drove herself. I think if OP continues the marriage, he needs to be ready for a life of constant trust issues and manipulation on her part. OP did nothing wrong in this situation, and people are blaming him and punishing him because he didn't want to spend the rest of his life with a cheater. I live in the East Coast, but travel frequently to Chicago for a new job. My family loves Chicago. I found out they were coming for the weekend after one of my work trips to see a show, so I got a hotel room next to theirs and we made plans. I met them Saturday morning at the hotel bar and bought the first round of drinks and appetizers for about $100. Saturday, I let my dad pick the restaurant for lunch. The man is notorious for going all out at restaurants. He is very successful, and food and drink is the one space he'll actually spend large amounts of money. He chose a nice seafood restaurant. So my mom, 50s, female, my dad, and my 3 younger siblings, 21 female, 23 male, and 25 male, all sat down and essentially let my dad order. We used to try and order our own food, but he always supplemented our orders, so we just let him get after it, especially since he was paying. I then took my dad to my favorite bar in the city. We hung out there for about 3 hours. I tried to pay for the bill, but my dad wouldn't let me because he had drank multiple $60 pours of scotch. He was a little inebriated at this point and told me he wanted to do dinner alone with my mom. He told me to take the kids somewhere nice and was very clear that he'd reimburse dinner, so the place needs to be nice. I have a good job, but I don't have a take 3 younger siblings to nice dinner money. We ended up going to a nicer steakhouse because I had a few friends that helped open the restaurant and still work there. They always take good care of us and give us a steep discount. After the discounts, everything plus tax and gratuity came out to about $250. We tipped generously. I felt that was high, so I covered $150 myself. I figured if there was any other issue, we could just cover the whole thing. My parents left on Sunday. Monday, my mom texted me asking how much I needed to be reimbursed. I sent her a pic of the check and said that I only needed $100 back. I almost immediately received a phone call from my dad lambasting me for taking my siblings to the nicest steakhouse in Chicago. He seemed to be more upset about the location than the price, saying that we used him to eat a steak. He told me to cancel all plans I had to travel back to my hometown to see them. I already had 2 trips booked and paid for. Got a refund though, and that I was no longer welcome to our annual Florida trip this March. I have already purchased non-refundable tickets for this though. I apologized several times, told him I was trying to be as fair as possible, and that $25 a head for a dinner in downtown Chicago seemed reasonable. But I wanted to take my siblings somewhere special, which is why I paid for everything on top of that. He did not care. He went on a tirade about the nice dinners he's taking me to, referencing nice dinners he forced me to go to when I was a teenager. Trying to be empathetic, I understand the feeling of being taken advantage of, and it sucks. I do not feel that's what I was doing in this situation. I also don't think being banned from home and family trips is a reasonable response, but what do I know? In my opinion, OP's father sounds like a narcissist. Looks like OP's father is only generous when he's in the spotlight. A classic narcissist favor sharking, where generosity is designed to make you feel obligated to them, while making them seem kind to bystanders who will then defend them if you expose their assholery. Looks like OP made him look less generous than he wanted to appear. Being the fancy restaurant guy is his thing, and OP took that away from him. I met John about 10 years ago. We were both struggling artists in Masters of Art program at a very exclusive and expensive Northeastern college. We both had wide-eyed dreams of taking the world by storm through art, blah blah. Standard stuff everyone in a fine arts Masters of Arts program says. Well, reality began to sink in, and I realized that I couldn't live via handouts from my parents and leftovers from my sister, and got a job at a theater doing production with some set design on the side. The contacts I made at that job meant the job turned into a great career in theater/ticket marketing and sales. It allows me to stay involved in the arts while paying the bills with a little left over. John and I got married 4 years ago, but he has never come to the realization that he needs money to live. In fact, he has not had a single paycheck since we graduated our Masters of Arts program in 2007. At first, I thought this was an attractive, rebellious attitude, but even before we were married, I realized it was far more groveling to family members than I would like. When I got my job, everything was fine for a long time because I was making enough money for the both of us, and John was making some beautiful stuff. Well, about the time of the election, John also decided he wanted to have kids. It also coincided with him meeting some very politically active people, and either by choice or by con, they have convinced John to produce very elaborate and expensive art pieces to further their cause. I feel very strongly that he is being used, and his response to that is that it's easy for me to criticize from my cushy spot in the system. Never mind the fact that it's me apparently lubricating the system with my blood and tears that allowed him to spend an ungodly sum of money for the materials on a combined piece he just gave away to his new friends. I am incredibly resentful of this. In fact, so resentful, on some nights I can't stand to look at him. It's very funny how being an artist also involves sleeping until 1 and binging on Netflix until inspiration hits. I work very long hours and weekends, depending on a given show and schedule, and I swear to God that some nights I will come home at 2 a.m. after working 16 hours, and by all appearances, John hasn't moved at all. That's not the image of high-minded rebel that I remember from our days in college. I'm lost right now. He pesters me constantly to have kids, but obviously he has no plans for me to quit, and he doesn't have any intention of being a responsible stay-at-home parent either. I've suggested therapy, but he doesn't see a problem and has some nutty theory that therapists are all bugged by the NSA for guys just like him. I like to hope he's joking, but not sure. Is it bolt time for me? OP should not have his kids with him. He is a kid himself, so OP will have 2 kids to take care of at the end. He does not have what it takes to be a father. And why the hell is he being condescending towards what OP does for a living when she pays all the bills? Honestly, he sounds really immature and like a complete a-hole, not to mention delusional. And it's obvious that he doesn't even respect OP. OP deserves so much better. She should run from him as fast as she can. Edit. I just had the Come to Jesus talk so many of you recommended. And what an absolute crap show. What an absolute train wreck of a marriage and human potential. I laid down the law that in no way are we having kids until he contributes more. He accused me of holding him back. I can't stress this enough that I have been supporting him for almost 10 years, with a little help from his parents from time to time. And the reason that he sits on the couch all day is that he's so scared of my awful reactions to his lack of productivity every night when I come home. I sat there with my jaw agape at this. I couldn't believe I was actually hearing this. So basically, he was sitting on the couch all day because I'm mean to him, because he sits on the couch all day. I asked him if this was really what he saw for himself and for us, and it did come out that he's insanely jealous of one of our great friends from school who just sold an amazing piece for a large sum of money, which may have turned into an actual patronage from a large group of art investors. Again, jaw agape. This friend is a hard worker and did have a nice payday, but over considering that he worked without any pay coming in from his art for a really long time, he probably earned pennies an hour. And that if we really plan on having kids, pennies an hour isn't going to cut it. He then accused me of only thinking about money, which made me so angry I can hardly stand it. I stress about money all the time, while he gets to play video games and have pretend salon with spoiled 20-year-old college dropouts. I asked him where he thought the money came from and how we live in a nice house with plenty of space for his sculptures, paintings, and equipment. He then said I forced him into the life we have now and that he would be much happier if we still lived in the crappy apartment in Park Slope. I also reminded him that he never contributed a penny to that apartment, and we had to find a cheaper place to live until I got my current job. At that point, I'd had enough. I told him that I was divorcing him and that he needed to leave. He left, and I feel like an enormous weight is off my shoulders. First stop tomorrow is a divorce attorney, and get this done as quickly as possible. I may be out some money or savings, but at least we didn't bring a kid into this absolute crap show and ruin a third person's life. Well done, OP. See you tomorrow, guys.